Hello everyone, and in this video I'm going to show how you can create a turret that does semi-auto fire or auto fire and burst fire, and also I will show you how you can make the turret always face your player. And there are multiple ways to do it. You can do it completely in blueprints, we can do it in AI controller or behavior tree, which I think is a better way, but it completely comes down to like your preference and what you understand and how complex your uh, turret is basically. So as long as you get it to shoot, everything else is like very easy, and how you want to proceed is completely dependent on you. So first of all, we will learn how to create some shooting patterns, and then we will learn to focus it on our player. So for now I simply have got like two static meshes. If you look at it, it's very basic block out that I did for testing purposes. And then this is a base. You can see that if I go into this blueprint where I was just practicing, go into the viewport, these are like two different static meshes just placed on top of each other, and we simply need to just move this part and it looks like a turret, right? Now I'm going to start from scratch, so let's go into blueprint. Here's one thing: if you use actor, you have to do it in blueprints, and you cannot use what you call the behavior tree and AI controller. But if you use pawn class, then you could do both of this, where you could use the AI controller and you could also use blueprint, obviously. So let's just make it in pawn, but again, you could, for the first method, you could actually do it in actor. I don't know, if I'll probably not show the behavior tree method, but I'll see I'll if it's possible. But I'm using pawn right now and call it as tunnel base. Okay, the reason why I call it tunnel base is that if you right click and create child blueprint classes, you could create like multiple versions. If you don't know what parent and child is, in parent you blueprint classes, you add all the common stuff like finding the players, how it should shoot, and like where the front and all, how many socket location or anything that is common, you add it in here. And then you could create a child class, and then everything that was done in here is already added in the child blueprint classes. You could add more stuff like individual stuff for each particular turret. For now I'm just using bp underscore base. You could say it is set to pawn right now. I'm going to go and then simply just drag and drop this turret like this. I know it is like way too big, so I'm just going to reduce it like 0.5 because I already tried it before. So it is now like this. Now I want to show like where it should shoot from. So if I go to my cube, which is this one, double click on the static mesh, I can go to my socket manager. I already added one. So I can go into my socket manager in here and add a socket, called it as shoot socket, and then basically place it around here like this. And you could use this as a location to shoot. I'm not going to use this, but this is like one method to get the location. I'm going to use this method, which is I will use an arrow component in here, call it as, I guess, shoot loc, shoot location, like shoot loc, and it will be if it looks like this, then simply just drag and drop into your cube like this, or turret basically. And when you move this, why is it not showing? First let me just move the shoot loc around here in the front like this, and if you select this, you could simply just move it both because it's a child of this turret cube. This shoot loc is where we will shoot from. So if you have like say a turret which has three of this, then you could create 3 arrows. And if you want, you can even give it a tag like this component tag and call it as shoot loc. So let's say if you created multiple arrows and give all of them tags, then you could just, you know, loop through them and shoot all of them together. I'll try to do that in this video. Let's delete this, and here's what we are going to do. Okay, so my first goal is to simply create the fire stuff, and then once we create the fire and projectile, then we will simply just do the tracking and all. Okay, so for that we actually need to go in here, create new blueprint, and this would be an actor because it's going to be a projectile, and I'll call it like turret projectile base. Double click this. This is our projectile which would be shooting. So for it to work as a projectile, we need to add it as projectile component or projectile movement like this. This would basically turn this into a projectile For that we need to give initial speed, so I'll give 1000. Max speed is just basically how highest it should go. So in case you do some more coding in here where maybe it touches something and it just increases the speed, or if someone hits it, it increases speed, and you don't want it to go a certain distance or certain speed, then you could do 1500 or something. In the previous video, if you actually check my VFX homing missile video where I created this VFX, right? I'm simply going to use that in here. Again, you could use anything. You could just simply just go in here and search for a spear like this and then add it. This would be your projectile basically. If you want, make it like 0.5 or something, 0.1. This one would be your projectile. Let's just do it like this, and then I'll change it to VFX just for, you know, nice visual purposes. If I now drag this in, let me just delete the old one. Okay, so if I just go and drag the projectile in here, if I, let's say, move it, let's do simulate, you would see it went forward. Okay, so it is working. It also comes down to like whether you want the gravity to affect it or not. So there's like gravity. With one, it is going to apply the full gravity of your, I guess, project or whatever it is set. And for me, for now, let's just keep it like this, and then later we can play around with the value if you want. But it's not just going, we also need a what you call box collision for this, or any spear collision, but I like to use box collision. Make sure it is the root. Let me just make this. And for a projectile, I found that you have to make the collision or something root, else it just does not work. So instead of using default scene, we will make it this way. If it works for you, just use that, it's okay. But I don't know why it does not work nicely if you don't make it like the parent or something. Now I just need to make it the same size. You could use scale, but I think it's better to use this stuff, which is box extent 555. We can make it this way. I'll just increase the spear size to be 0.2, 0.15. Now this spear or this box collision is the one that actually would be colliding with the player or anything that we want. So this box collision, I'm just going to search for hidden, because by default any collision is hidden, right? I'm going to untick this so that we can actually see when I drag it in here. You could see we can actually see now this box collision in the editor, else it would be invisible. So let's work on creating the shoot system. In our event begin play, let me just try if it works with debug key. So I'll just search for debug key, go in here, select any key. I'll do, I guess, F. So here's what I want to do. I want to spawn this projectile from the turret. So let's do spawn actor from class, which is this one, and then we will select this projectile base. So this will be what's going to spawn. So here it says always spawn ignore collision. It means that it will spawn at the location even if it is colliding with stuff. So if there was collision in here, it will still spawn, and that is actually better in case, you know, this turret collision is colliding with here, but then later it just works normally. Just for when spawning, it ignores it. When I press this key, it should spawn this one, but you need to give a transform location. So let's split this so that we get location, rotation, scale. This shoot location, we will get this, and we will say get actor location. Let's do get world location, and that would be our location. And we need to give it a transform, we need to give it a rotation so that it spawns in that direction always. So I'm going to select this and do get world rotation like this, and then give it this one. So it spawns at the location of this shoot LOC, and it always spawns in this direction. Just remember that it always would the red is considered front in Unreal, so it will always shoot on the red direction. Same with this one, which is y red direction or x direction. If I go in here, I first need to add this stuff in here. You know what, I also want to give this the colors that I actually made. So if you select the material in here, you could drag and drop, but if you select it in here, go into your turret base and click this left arrow, it will basically do that. I'm simply going to do it as a timer. So let's just set timer by event. What this does is that you could think of it as a delay node like this, but it is a better way to use it's better to use set timer by event instead of delay, because what this does is that if you add, let's say, 1 second, then it will wait 1 second and then run whatever event is in here. And then another thing is, if you click looping, then whatever event is in here, it will loop it every 1 second, like every 1 second, like this. So this completely depends on how you want to use. So if you untick, you could use it as a delay. If you tick it, you can use it as looping. So I'll do 1 second looping, create a custom event, call it as spawn projectile, or let's just call it shoot. Connect this here and then connect it like this. So every 1 second it will run this code. Let's do preview, and you could see now it is shooting. Looks very boring. So let's select our projectile and remove the gravity. Let's do 0, compile, so that it goes on living. But I'm also going to do is, I'm going to select this projectile and search for set lifespan, so that because we don't have gravity, and if it can simply just keep on going continuously without getting destroyed, I could say that if it does not get destroyed in 10 seconds completely, if it does not get like collided or destroyed automatically, then after 10 seconds just get destroyed. And you can probably see in here where it will start getting destroyed after 10 seconds. Just for the sake of this video, I'm going to add an audio component in here. I accidentally added in tunnel base. We don't want it, we want it in the projectile. So when it spawns, it will play this audio. Search for audio, and it automatically selected whatever was selected in here, but you could go in here and search for whatever you have created. I'm also going to just play this and see how this sounds. Okay, this is just what I have for now, which is why it is sounding like an arrow, because that's what I made. I'm just going to make it 0.1 so that it does not sound a lot. There we go. So you could see this one, we could create a semi-automatic like this, where it just shoots 1 by 1. If you go in here and then make this to be 0.1, it turns to auto. And for burst fire, we need to actually do more stuff. So let's first do it this way. Okay, now instead of creating, let's say, a branch and then just being like, is it like semi-auto, or is it auto, or burst fire, or any other mode, we can go into our project where I have created around here and search for enum. Enum is nothing but just a list that you could make, and call it as enum turret. I don't know why I called it tunnel base. I just realized I called it tunnel base and call it turret shoot modes or something like this. If I double click, it's just a list. Enum is just a list, and I can create an enum. So add. First it's going to be semi-auto. I can create a new one, call it auto. Create a new one, call it burst fire. And you can create more stuff, and it's very easy to add, right? And here's what we are going to do. In our tunnel base, we somehow need a reference to that enum, right? So we'll select this variable and call it as shoot mode, like this. And if I go in here and search for that shoot mode, so enum turret shoot mode, I can get that enum, and you could see we get all that as a list. If I drag this in here, let me move it around here, I can say that switch on enum, and you could see based on this we get like different switches. So if we go in here and say that, hey, this is an auto or this is in burst fire, it will basically use only that code. So let's go and move this further. Let's go and place this around here in the event begin play, where it would basically check, hey, which shoot mode is this? We can say if this is semi-auto to 4.1 time. If you want, you could even promote this to a variable and call it as semi-auto time, like this, to compile, and now set it manually. If you make this to be, let's say, instance editable, then you could go in and place like multiple, like this, and this one you could basically say that this one shoots for 1 second and this one shoots every 0.1 seconds, like this. So let's just keep it 1 for now. Now the thing is, you can actually just go in here and then collapse it to function so that it turns into a function and it does not look this cluttered. But I'm not going to do that specifically for because I tried to do it in like another project where I actually wanted to do burst fire with some time dilation, or not time dilation, but a difference in time, and it was kind of annoying. But if you're just doing like semi-auto and auto, you could go and just, you know, collapse this to function, like this. Just if you collapse this to function and call it, I guess, semi-auto, or just type shoot, like this, shoot projectile, like this, and then you don't even need to use this one. You could even use set timer by function name, like this, and you could just use this name called shoot projectile, like this, and we can simply just delete this. We can also delete this, and then it gets like much more cleaner, right? So semi-auto time, obviously it should be looping, and here's also initial start delay. By the way, if you, let's say, add 1 in here, then it would not instantly start. It will wait for 0 to 1 and then shoot. But if you do -1 in here, it will instantly shoot, and then there would be like 1 second delay. So if you want, you could do is multiply this with -1, like this, so that there is no delay at start, like when you're starting. But for me, I want delay instead of starting instantly. Next thing is, you can copy this again and then go into auto and select this, because we are using function, right? And if you select this, function is nothing but a code that is compressed, or you could think of it as a zip file. You know how we compress file and then store it. You could think of it that way, and you could simply just say that, hey, run this code, and it will basically run this code again and again. It's good when you want to run a code again and again, okay? But just know that in the function, you cannot add, let's say, a delay node or something that requires, like, say, a timeline or something. You cannot add it in function because it works instantly. That is one thing which is why I was avoiding using function in my last project, or in the project that I'm working on, okay? So I'm going to duplicate this semi-auto time and call it as auto time. Drag it in here and then add it in here, and then let's do compile. For the semi-auto, I want to use it as 0.5 as the default, or let's do 1, so that it shoots every 1 second, and this one is 0.1. So now I'm also going to go into my shoot mode and make it instance editable, and let's drag this around. You could see both of them are set to shoot mode right now. So if I, let's say, simulate, you could see both of them are shooting like this. Now if I go and set this to be, hey, use auto, you could see both of them using same code are doing different things. And obviously you could go in here and set different time for this one, set different time for this one. Now for the burst mode, we actually need to use a different method, slightly different, not much. What I will use is called do n. You need to search, I think, do n. Now this node, when I tried it first time, it confused me, because what I thought that when something enters in this one, so execution enters, and I say, let's say 3, right? So it will do 3 times. What I thought that it will, if let's say I say shoot, then it will shoot 3 times, and then if I say again shoot, and it will do it 3 times. No, it does not work that way. So how this actually works is, when the execution comes, it comes like this, goes, and then it does it around here, and then it's saying that, hey, I did it once already. Next time it comes up again and it's going to do the execution again and be like, hey, I did it twice already. Then it's going to come up execution again and it's going to be like, hey, I did it 3 times. You have said that you can only do it for 3 times, so I'm not going to do more than 3. So next time the execution comes, it's not going to work, like nothing's going to happen in here, which is why there's a reset button in here. And that was like so confusing for me because I spent hours on it, because what I thought is that this would do like 3 times basically, it will do 3 times something. If you want to do something like 3 times, you could use for loop and then say as 2, like here, so 0 1 2, and then it will basically do it 3 times every single time an execution comes. Okay, this is different, this is different. We will be using this one too for a spread fire. Okay, in this video we will create a spread fire. So for now, let's just do burst fire and saying like do it 3 times. What should we do 3 times? We have to do this, not this much, we actually have to do this shoot projectile like 3 times. I want to execute this shoot projectile 3 times, but I'm going to go in here and then do set timer by event, and then I'm going to create a custom event called burst fire, and then I'm going to connect this in here. So whenever this is called, it's going to do shoot once. Okay, it will shoot once and whenever burst fire is called. So let's connect this and then say that this one would be fire rate, basically how fast it should shoot. So I'm going to select this as 0.1 and I'm going to set it as looping. So every 0.1 seconds it's going to do this. Okay, so let me just show it once. So if I select this, convert this to burst fire, do simulate, it's doing every 0.1 seconds, because that's what we have set around here, and it's constantly going to do it. But again, like I said, we have to limit it, right? Which is where this comes up like this. So the thing is, when it reaches 3 times, so this execution reaches 3 times, this code will constantly run for 0.1 seconds till this much, and it will just stop around here. I don't know if this is like a good way to do it, because the code is still running, right? Instead of creating like some kind of, I guess, a boolean where it's like stop shooting, start shooting, stop shooting, start shooting. So let's do this. Let's shoot projectile and do it 3 times, and let's see how this goes. Not sure what's happening. Why is it shooting only once? Let's make this 10 and see if that does anything. Okay, it does. I'm going to add a delay in here, like 2 seconds. Okay, there we go. Let's do preview. After 2 seconds, it should shoot 3 times. There we go. But you could say it never crosses, it never goes ahead of this much because it has already done 3 times. So we can do is, again, this is don't add delay, but add some kind of like different logic, where is the player closer to us or not, kind of stuff. What we can do is, I could say that I could say set timer by event. After 1 second, run this code, custom event, which is reset burst. So reset the burst fire. This actually no, my bad. We will actually connect this event in here, which is saying reset burst. So what we can do is we can call reset burst like this. So whenever this event is called, it will reset the burst like this. We cannot connect it directly because then it would just keep shooting. You could see, because we need to add some kind of cooldown or something, right? So I think we can add a delay. I don't know how good it is to use delay or not. Okay, so just know that if it's better, just do set timer by event, connect it like this, create another event, and then add that message like this. So custom event, reset or something, add this in here, and instead of doing delay, add like this. So there are too much set timer by event, but people say that it's better to use this way, because that way we are, for example, in this switch, this execution would never run until 2 seconds is happening. But in this switch, in this set timer by event, we can actually run an execution in around here instead of waiting. So for example, in this switch, we just cannot proceed in this execution, But if we use this much, we can actually go and run this execution, and this one is the only one which is going to stop. So here we could say like after 2 seconds, we are not doing looping, right? So we will do reset, and then let's do this and see. 3 burst fire, 3 burst fire. You could see we are now doing 3 burst fire. So it's very simple that we have done. We have created an event which constantly tries to shoot, like every 0.1 second it's trying to shoot, but this one is saying, hey, I'm only going to allow you 3 times to do it. And after that, we are creating a delay and being like, hey, we can now reset this and allow to shoot again after 2 seconds. Now I also want to show one more stuff where what I want to do is I want to allow people to shoot like multiple turrets. So if you want to shoot like multiple bullets instead of one, I want to do it, but I want to do it dynamically in a nicer way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my base class and create a blueprint child, which is going to be p underscore turret multi. So it's going to be a multi turret. So you could see that anything that I added in here is already added. And then if I go into event graph, there is something called parent begin play, which is basically all of this code which is around parent begin play. So if you want to do something before where did it go? So if you want to do something before this stuff, then you could do some code around here. And if you want to do after this stuff, then you could add any code around here. So in this one, what I want to do is if you want, you could change the mesh around here and do all that stuff. But what I also want to do is I want to duplicate this much. So let's duplicate, and I'll make this be at bottom like this. Let's make this go up and create another duplicate and make it be like, let's say, a triple turret. Okay. One more thing, if you guys don't remember, we have added a tag shoot LOC, and it is actually given to every single one of them. Now here's the thing, if you want, you could do this in here, but I want to do it in tunnel base, so that if I want to have like multiple turrets with like, let's say 2, 3 or 4, then I don't need to do the code in each child class. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. So below this, I'm going to actually go and be like, let's search for tag component. Okay, get components by tag, this much. This is going to be self. So in this one, and we are going to be like, hey, I want to actually get arrow component. So here you could see we have arrow comp. If I hover on it, it says arrow component. So I'm saying that every children of this check a component which is called arrow component and has the tag shoot LOC. So this one will basically create an array of all the shoot LOC that we have. In this one we have 1, but in this one we have 3. Let's say in the event begin play, I will run this code. I'll actually promote this to a variable and call it as shoot arrow array, or shoot arrows. That's more than enough. And I'll set this as the variable, so that it is now stored in this variable, all the shooting arrows. Now in our set timer, so if in our shoot projectile, what I could do is I could loop through all of them. So if I get this shoot arrows, and I can say like for each loop, so for each one of them, I'm going to remove this print string. Okay, so for each one of them, select this, and instead of using shoot LOC, select the array element. So what this does is that it will select all our shoot LOC, and first time it will select the first one, second time it will select the second one. If I go in here, first one it will select this, then second and third. So this loop will run for each one of the shoot arrow basically. Now let's go into preview, and you could see it still should work because it is set to burst fire. Let's go in here and then make this be auto, semi-auto, and it will still run. But if I go and add the multi like this, you could see now it is shooting 3 times for each one of them. And similarly, all I simply need to do is turn this into, let's say, a burst fire. Now it is shooting for triple burst fire. If I turn this into an auto, it will shoot 3 times. Obviously the timing and all is completely based on you, which means now what it means is that if you create, let's say, a child class and create it like a different mesh, and if you want to have like two of the, it shoots from 2 different direction, or if you shoot for 3 different direction, if you want to make it spread out, you could simply just go in here and then basically make this spread out like this, and it will shoot in a spread pattern like this, you could see. And that is one cool stuff about this. Okay, now here's the thing, I want to do one more stuff, and this is going to be called as, this one I'll call as something, I guess it's also going to be burst or like delayed burst or something. Let's call it delayed burst. What I want to do is, instead of it shooting all 3 of them together when we are doing, let's say, triple like this, so let's do semi-auto. Instead of doing, let's say, 3 together, I want to do some delay. So 1 2 3 comes some kind of delay. You could see we got like new pin around here, so let's try to do that. I'm just going to move this side. So for delayed burst, we will actually get our shoot arrows like this. We will get our shoot projectile, and here's the thing, we are actually looping through this whenever we use this function, right? Now here's the thing, if we want to do some delay between each one of them, it's not going to be possible with this function, right? Because whenever we send a code, so when we send a code in here, it is doing a loop through all of this stuff and then instantly doing around here. And here's the thing, if I change something in here, it is actually changing for all of them, and I don't want it. I want it to be different for just this much. So here's what we are going to do. Instead of doing it in here, I'm going to do it in a different function. If you find a way to make it in one function, it's totally cool, you could do it, but for me, I'm just going to duplicate this and call it as shoot delayed burst or something, just so that I have more control on this stuff. Okay, so in the shoot delayed burst, I'm just going to remove this much, go in here, connect this, and I simply am going to right now we need to give some location in here, right? So before doing that, what I'm going to do is, in our array, let's remove this. So in our array, I'm just going to do is, for each loop like this, so that it is looping in here instead of looping around there, I'm going to do is set timer by function name. Or actually, we don't even need to do a function, we will just do it in a what you call event. So let's just copy this and let's do it in event around here. So let's do set timer by event, and we will do a loop. We will remove this. This one would be basically this, whichever the arrow is in the iteration. So first arrow, second arrow, third arrow, and we will do a loop like this, and then we'll say that 0.1 seconds of delay whenever it is looping like this. Actually, we will not connect it in here, we will connect in the custom event. So let's create custom event and call it as burst delay or something, and connect it in here, connect this event in here so that it is running like this. So the message goes like this. After 0.1 second, it sends this message. 0.1 second sends this message. Let's see. I don't think it will work because this, I think it loops like very fast. Let's add a delay first. So let's do 5 sec. Oh no, not 5. 2 seconds. Let's do preview. So it only shot once. Let me just remove this. So again, I don't know why this happens, but I'm going to use different method. Again, I'll do do_n, not this one. So I'll do do_n, and whenever it sends a message, so whenever we receive an execution, we will not use this much. We will actually run this code. Oops. Why is it doing that? We will run this code whenever we receive a message. We will do it for 3 times, and we will actually go in here and then say that get a copy. What this does is that it will get the first one if you type 0, if you do 1, 2, it will do that. This n should be the same size of shoot arrow. So instead of manually doing this, we can do is we can get length, or just search for length, and because if there is like 3 arrows, it will automatically add 3 in here. This would basically do exit. This one would basically give us 1, 2, 3, but the problem is it goes from 0, 1, 2 like this. It does not go 1, 2, 3, it goes 0, 1, 2. So what we can do is we can do -1, so that it starts from 0 like this. Let's place it like this, there we go. So it will take so first counter, it will go 1, -1, 0, and it will use first one, then 1 and 2, and then we will basically add this. So each iteration it will use different arrow or each different world location. Let's try adding delay. Why is it only, oh, obviously it's going to shoot once because there's only one arrow. Let's try, we have to try it in this one. I have to set this as delay. Not sure why, even though there are 3 arrows. So let's see. There's one reason, because we have not created like a loop. So it needs to loop, right? This, whenever there's a message, it needs to loop that. So instead of creating this, we actually need to do is set timer by event. Let's add this. What was happening was we were only creating one execution pin, so it was only sending the message once, but we want to send the message like again and again, right? So let's connect this into the enter. We need to, or not this much, we will need to create custom event like burst delay. Connect this in here, connect this in here. This one would be a fire rate, so let's do 0.1 and do looping. So every 0.1 second it will try to send this message, but this one would be like, hey, I'm only going to do it this many times. So let's do that. Why was there no delay? Yeah, sorry, 0.5 delay. Let's see. There we go. It is now doing a delayed shoot. So this is what's happening. This event is basically sending this execution every 0.5 seconds. This doN is being like, hey, I'm only going to do for 3 times because there are 3 arrows, and then every single time the execution goes and this counter increases, it is taking the next arrow. So 1, 2, 3. But yes, one thing that we need to do is we can actually get this counter and then be like, when this is equal to, we can say when this is equal to, you know what, let's just promote this to a variable and call it as current short index or something. It is not going to be index because index starts with 0. So we should actually name it nicely and call it current short counter like this. Let's do exit, and every time it increases, it's going to set this counter. It's simply going to make it easy for us to do some stuff in here. Let's get this counter and then we will check, hey, is it equal to, is it equal to what should it be, like equal to the length. So is the counter equal to the length, which means that it has already shot every single one of them. Let's do a branch and be like, hey, if the counter, which is like, is it the last one, then we have to do reset. So let's create a custom event, reset burst delay. If it is true, actually let's create reset burst delay, not this one, reset burst delay this much. So if it is true, if the counter is 1, then go back and then reset this. And let's see, there we go, it is constantly shooting now. If you want to add some cooldown, then you could add a cooldown in front of this, like this, add a cooldown by adding delay or something, so that it does not constantly keep shooting like this. Now that we have created a turret which actually shoots in each direction like this, we will now learn how we can make it face ourselves. So this tunnel pace, again, one more thing, just make sure to like organize it better. I'm way too lazy for this video for now. Let's go in here and add a sequence node, and then let's add this like this. So basically, instead of creating something from the right side, we will go around here like this. Now I'm going to do is, I'm going to get this shoot LOC and be like get location, like get the world location of our arrow which is in front of it. I will do get player character. Now this one is completely dependent on how you want to do it and how you want to receive this. This one will only get the player index 0. So if you are creating for multiplayer, this one would be not a good way to do it. For that you can actually use something like AI perception or something, but for this one I'm just going to use this way. I'm going to do is find look at rotation. I want to say that find this location and get the character location. So get actor location in the world space, and this one would basically give us rotation in the direction of the player, because start and target. Again, this will only get for the first player. It is good for single player, but if you are using multiplayer, then you should use like different method, and there are videos on how to, instead of using this, what you should use and all that stuff. So what I want to do is I want to change the rotation of this one to be based on the character or what this rotation is. So we'll get this cube and say that set rotation, the world rotation, to be this one, but it will not directly work. Okay, it will not just work. So if I go in here and then let's say do play from here, you could say it worked, but it's not actually going to change. And also we could say it is also moving up and down. We don't want that. So in our turret base, let's remove this. We need to run this code constantly. So here's what we can do. We could do set timer by event, which we have already used like multiple times. Let's move this, let's disconnect this. You know what, I'm just going to create a custom event and call it as look at target, like this, look at target, and run this code again and again. And I'm going to set the world rotation. I'm going to do split connect it like this, which is Z, and say that run this every 0.1 seconds, connect it to the Z. It would be better to just create, let's say, a function, because this one actually works with function. If you do, let's say, collapse to function like this and convert it into a function, it would be like much more cleaner. And if you don't know what function is, it's basically like a compressed code which is stored in here, and you could call it again and again. We used it in the last video called when we were shooting projectile. So every 0.1 second it will run this. Make sure to select looping, else it would not work. But you could say it is very jittery. You could say it is very jittery right now. That is because it is not actually what do you call it? It's not actually smoothly rotating. It is actually instantly just turning into that direction. So there is something called rinterp2. This is rotation interp. So like tries to reach target rotation based on current rotation, giving a nice smooth feeling when rotating to target location. So what we can do is, let's just recombine this and then say that, hey, this is the location that we want to go to, and this is what my current is. So this is what my current location rotation is. So let's do get world rotation. and add it here. So it's being like, hey, this is my current rotation and this is what I need to go. Connect, let's split this because I only want to do for Z axis. If you have a turret which actually wants to look up and down, maybe it's like a turret which is faced on the ground, and or maybe it's faced on like top on the wall and it also needs to face down, then you will need to add more, you need to connect like more pins, but it completely is dependent on like your design. For me, it just needs to do left and right. Then we need to give it a delta time. This is like how much time it has passed. So if I do get world delta seconds, this is like how much time it has passed, but it is not actually world delta seconds. It is like returns the frame delta time in second adjusted by time dilation. What this means is that how much time it takes in between frames. So if you don't know, if when you use event tick like this, okay, if you use, let's say, event tick, let's say if I disconnect this much, okay, and then add, let's say, event tick, and I also remove this much just to show you guys, okay, don't do this. So what I'm simply doing is that, you know what we did previously before adding rinterp, we are taking the look at rotation, connecting the Z, and we are using event tick. Event tick runs every single frame, but that's one thing you need to know, okay? So if I do this, you would see that it looks smoothly, right? It looks like it is rotating smoothly. It is kind of looking weird when I go closer, but if I do this, it looks smooth. But the problem is it is completely dependent on FPS. So right now you could say it is 70 FPS. If I do FPS, max FPS, and do, let's say, 10, and do apply, it would not look nice. It is kind of looking okay, but it is not going to look nice if you do like event tick and try to move it certain direction. For this case it is working, but in most case it would not going to work. And even though it is working with 10 FPS, it might not work with like some different. So if you type max FPS 0, it will just do max whatever it is. So event tick actually runs in every single seconds, every single frame, and it is completely dependent on how much frame your user is getting, which is why we don't use that. Let me connect this to start. Let me recombine this, connect back. So we are back to what we were before. This is the same thing that we are doing as event tick, but the thing is we are actually running it by a timer, right? So it is only running 0.1. So I don't know if this one does any if this one will cause any issues or not, whether it would be like frame independent or not. If in future I found that it is frame independent, I will let you know, or again, if you know if whether using this would turn into frame dependent, using this would turn into frame dependent stuff, then let me know. But just know that because what I think is that it will run every 0.1, right? So every 100 milliseconds, so it should not matter. But still, I'm still confused whether it would be frame dependent or not. So is this the good practice or not? So if you go into interp, you could do 10, and that would be the speed at which it will rotate smoothly. So you could see it is also not jittering. If I try to do there, you need to go and make this be 0.01 or 0.5, so it is running like very fast. And you could see it now runs smoothly. Even if I go closer, it is doing smoothly. And the speed of the rotation, so if I make this, let's say, 1, it will not be able to like be fast rotation to me. So this is one way to just look at the player constantly and shoot. Another thing is, if you want, what you could do is, instead of doing it based on timer like this, you could add an event and then add a line trace. So what you could do is, let's say after this much, okay, after this much, we create another set timer by event like this. So this is why like set timer by event is good, because we can say that hey delay only this much, but run this code constantly. But if you add, let's say, delay, then what would happen is that nothing in front of it would work. But when using set timer by event, you could just, make only this code be delayed and not this much. So let's create a custom event, and let's call this add as check for target or something like this. I'll add an event like this every 0.5 seconds. Every 0.5 seconds loop this and do this much, and we will do is line trace by channel. So here's the thing, if you want to do a line trace or if you want to do a spear trace, spear trace would be a bit costlier than line trace, but not much. And spear trace would basically, you could think of it as throwing a spear and checking if that spear is hitting, and obviously the base, it depends on how big the spear is, right? So you would be basically checking for much larger radius. I'll explain, you will understand. So let's just ignore this for now and I'll show what that does. But for a line trace, we actually need to give a start and end location. Our start would be our shoot LOC like this, get world location, like get this world location and do a trace from here. And here it's like how far I should do the trace. I already have a dedicated video on line trace and box collision. You could check it and I go in much more detail, but this one would be faster. Then our shoot LOC, we need to get the forward direction. If you don't know, red or x-axis is forward, z is up, and green is right direction or right vector. If you want to get, let's say, back vector, then you need to do is, let's say for now we will do get forward vector, and this one would give us the direction at which our x is facing. But if you want to get, let's say, backward, there is no backward vector. You actually need to do is negate. Okay, and this would basically give the backward vector. And if you hover on it, it says get forward unit direction vector. Unit direction means that it will give us the direction at which it is facing in 0 to 1 value, which means that if I want to add a line trace in front of me in 500 centimeters ahead or 1000 centimeters ahead, I will have to do is multiply this. You can convert this into a float. Where is it? Float single precision, or you could create a variable and make this instance editable so that each turret has like different stuff. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to make it 1000. So this is 0 to 1, so it would basically be less than 1000 and in between like 0 to 1000 right now. So this forward vector only gives us the direction in 0 to 1, right? And this one we are saying that hey, multiply this by 1000, but we want to say that do it from this location. So we can actually get the world location and do add and say that get from this location, whatever this location is, and add 1000, whatever the value is in here by 1000, whatever value we get in the forward direction in 1000, just add it that much. And we can say, hey, add this in the end location. Then we will do get for duration. So draw debug would basically draw a debug line to just show what is actually happening. If I play, you could see that it is now red color. The reason why it's being green is probably it is actually colliding with the projectile, the line trace, which is not a good way to do it. So let's say our line trace is actually being in the visibility channel. So we can go into our projectile base. In a box, we can go into the collision. Let's say custom, and for the visibility, just ignore it. So now our trace channel should not be, but it's still being green. It shouldn't be green. So yeah, the box collision, we made it to be custom, but the spear is actually using this much. So let's do custom and say not this much. Let's do ignore. I should also do ignore for camera. Let's do ignore for camera so that our camera, which our player has, does not get affected. And you could see the line now stays red color. Now if I do play, you could see it is doing a trace, and it will basically keep doing trace like this and check what it is actually hitting. So whenever it is hitting something, it is turning to green. It might not turn to green in your case, and that is because if you go to your player character, if you go to the capsule component and go to the collision, your would be set to I guess pawn like this, and by default it is set to visibility ignore as the tick mark around here. So which means that our character might also be ignored. What you ideally need to do is go into project settings, search for channel, and here you could create like new channels. So you could go in here and call it as don't call it new trace channel, but just call it something like like enemy trace or player trace, so that there's two trace channel. Enemies can use their own trace channel, and you could use your own trace channel, and you have more controls. And you could basically say that if I go to this custom and then say that, let me compile, you would see we get new option, right? This third person character, it should block this new trace channel. It can ignore the default one. In our tunnel base, in our trace channel, we can say now that use this new trace channel as a trace channel. Now if I do preview, it will work normally, but if I go and do visibility, it will just ignore me. You could see it is not turning to green. So that way we can actually have like different trace channels for, let's say, just for our enemies, and something that our player does for interaction and stuff. When you do a trace channel, okay, so before that, if I, let's say, remove all this and then use the spear trace instead, add this at the start, and make sure the draw debug is set to duration, and give some radius like 10. If you do preview, it will now do a spear trace like this, and it will send like a bigger spear area like this to check. So if you want to check in a bigger radius, you could use that much. Okay, I'm just going to do line trace for the sake of this video. In the line trace, wherever we hit something, we get some hit result, which is break hit result. And here we can get a hit actor. So here you could say that is the hit actor, so whichever it is touching, like this, which is green color, is the hit actor. Whichever it has touched, is it the player or what is it basically? So if you go into your tunnel, we can actually go and do a print string around here, print string like this, and then just say that print whatever the hit actor is. And you could say it is constantly saying that it is our character, and it is also checking if it's like the turret. So when it hits the other turret, it just shows the name of the other turret. So it basically gives the name of what the hit actor is. You could go in here and then say like get player character, and then it will basically say that it will basically check, is the hit character our character? The hit actor, is it our character? And then we can say a condition, and all this code would only run if it is our character basically. What I instead like to do is, I like to go in here and search for hashtag, so actor hashtag, and we add player or something like this, or you could search or name it as target or something. Okay, and do condition. Now the thing is, any actor that you give as player, or any any actor in this scene you give a tag as player. So if I go in here, I can set this as player, so I can add it and say that it is a player or not. It will basically run this code only if the hit actor has the tag player. So if I go to my character and then search for tag, I can add a tag called player. And then if I go to this turret, I can say like hit is print string, and say that hit is player like this, and then duplicate this and call it like hit not player or something. And let's make this one be a red color. So this one would run if it's false, this one would run if it's true. And you could see that it is giving hit not player. Again, if there is no hit, it will give nothing. So you could see nothing, so hit not player, it is working this. But if I touch this, okay, let me go in here and see what it shows. It is still hitting something. I don't know what it is hitting, but I'll probably need to just need to work and look at it. But you could see when we touch, it is giving hit is player. So I think because in the projectile, I actually made this be, I added new channel, right? So I've totally forgot to update this to be new channel base like this. So now it is not touching itself. I don't know what that error is caused by. It's simply because it is trying to run this, but there is no actor which has even like hit something. So again, I'm getting that error because even though it is not hitting something, it is saying like, hey, I'm not getting any properties. So again, I never faced this issue, but again, this one gives us an option which is like, did it hit something or not? So we can actually do is add and boolean, or we can do simply just like a branch in here, which is like, if this is true, then only run the for this code. So now if I do escape, okay, no errors. I never faced this issue. Okay, I thought it would automatically work, but now it is working perfectly, where it is checking that if there is if something is hit, then only run all this code. Now instead of doing this this stuff, we should actually start shooting only only when this is set to true. Now there's like a lot more stuff that you could do, and here I can add a boolean and see like target found question mark like this, and make this as boolean. And in here I could say that if the actor is player, then set this as true like this. And then we can go on up and we can say that maybe we don't even need to use a boolean, but we can basically create a custom event, like an event. Why is there no custom event? Custom event, and say that start shooting. Let's do start shooting. So when we do this, we can actually start shooting. We probably don't need this target found, but again, let's just keep it in case you want to use it for something else. And we can go in here and then I guess set this like this so that it does not instantly start shooting. Let's go further and see what this does. It does nothing. It is doing this line traces, and if it starts touching me, okay, it started, but there was delay. So let me just convert this into auto, and let's do semi-auto. Maybe not semi-auto. Let's do semi-auto, and let's do preview. Not sure why it's stopping the shoot. So if I go outside and then come back, it is shooting. But if I go, so we have a set timer by event, and then it is set to be in here, and this one should basically run this line after this line trace starts. So here's what's happening. I think every time I'm getting hit, it is actually resetting this stuff, and the set timer by event basically does not start instantly. It starts after this time, and it is constantly getting resetted every time we run this code and this execution is passed. So what we need to do is we only need to send this message once. Now if you want, you could simply just do like shoot projectile in here like this, and then it will basically do the same thing. Every time it hits, it will shoot. If you don't, it will just not. And it's like the basic easy way to do it. But if you go further, it will basically just stop shooting. This is like the easier way to do it, where you simply just add the function that you created previously, or search for shoot burst, like burst fire. Let's do that and see. Let's select burst and then see. There we go, it is working. So every line trace, it is actually shooting. What I wanted to do was, when it finds the player once, just start shooting and don't care anymore to do any more line traces. So that's why I was doing this way, where I was creating a target found variable, and as soon as the target found is done, I can simply just send the message that, hey, the target has been found. I could do once actually, so that it does not do multiple times. Let's do it once. So this one would only pass through once, and then start shooting. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it works. So if I now go back and then do, nothing's going to happen. If something hits me, they will start shooting, and then they will never stop even though I go outside the range. So there are multiple ways to do the same stuff, simply just using AI perception or using behavior tree. And even if you are using behavior tree, you still need to make all of this in that behavior tree. So just knowing this, how it works, you can simply just go and paste that stuff in that trees and all, instead of creating everything in Blueprint. But yeah, this is all that you could do. Very basic stuff. Just learn it one by one. And yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Have a nice day.